Gotham and Merry Christmas. I hope you're watching Batman. This one's for you.
Control initiated. Parade override engaged.
What the hell was that?
Hey kids, Santa Flash is back.
Bruce, you didn't get him a gift certificate.
No. Cash.
Yeah, can I help you?
Yes. We're looking for the legendary Kevin Bacon.
We're looking for the legendary Kevin Bacon.
I just said that, Drax.
Jill, there's just no way to explain the devastation right now, as the Life Day Parade turned Christmas Parade turned massacre unfolds before us. Both Life Day and Christmas have been ruined forever by...
Data. Hologram. Now.
Just wanted to get a quick out-of-theater reaction real quick. I just got out of Rebel Moon, and I'm gonna say this right now. There's a kid behind me. Fuck the critics. This was an amazing movie. Great performances all around. Sophia Boutella was great. Ray Fisher was great. Oh my God, Ray Fisher as an actor has grown so much right now. Right now, the only thing I'll say is I just want more. I can't wait for the director's cut. I can't wait for part 2. The music, the atmosphere, just this was great. It was really great, and I'm really excited to see more. So be on the lookout tomorrow. I should have a review on my channel. I have not decided on the format yet, but it is coming out. Oh, by the way, I won a prize for knowing who they were fighting against before the movie starts, the Mother World. So, yes, be on the lookout tomorrow. Hashtag Rebel Moon at Netflix.
From like Westworld.
That's yeah. Woo! Rebel Moon Part 1. Crazy. Where does part 2? Rebel Moon. Oh wow. Are huge.
I'm okay, but it's strange it's older show.
Okay. You're so right. Oh my God. That is massive. So massive. Oh yeah, I should probably roll it up. Amazing. Amazing. I don't want to. I don't want to bend it. Don't ruin it, God. What is Andre doing? Andre's doing it right. Andre, do mine. You do it. You roll it so good.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Space-Tastic Discussions. If you're watching this before Thursday night, I and the person I'm about to bring on have both seen Rebel Moon early in theaters, and we both really wanted to talk about it. So don't worry, this is going to be spoiler-free. So if you have not seen the movie, which most of you watching probably have not, don't worry about it. We'll do a spoiler review later on. And I saw this in Chicago, and the person I'm about to bring on, he saw this in Austin. So I'm really excited to bring this person back on the channel. Please welcome Josh Herrera. How are you, man?
Like I said last time, Batdan, it's a new age for the universe, baby. Rebel Moon hype train is here. It's going. Let's go. I feel activated. How do you feel?
Oh, very good. When I saw this movie yesterday in theaters, and it was amazing. It was such a great movie. Just so much exciting stuff to talk about. So much great stuff, and I can't wait to really delve into this. spoiler free, and get a chance to do something on my channel I don't get to do very often, which is talk about a movie before it's officially out. This is the first time I've ever gotten to do this, so I'm really excited. And I guess, guys, if you're watching this at the live premiere, Josh is actually about to attend another movie in theaters. Which one is that?
Yeah, I was telling Skywalker yesterday during his Black Adam watch along. I'm on cloud nine right now, feelings activated, due to my early screening. But tonight I will be seeing another screening. I'm not sure I'm gonna be as activated in that, but we'll see. I'm gonna be seeing Aquaman 2 tonight. So I have a feeling it's not gonna be as epic as 1 second. Fat Dan, this cast right here, isn't it
Oh,
glorious? Did you get one of these?
yeah. Yes, I have one of these right now too. Okay, hold on. Keep talking. Maybe I'll edit this
All
part out.
right.
Maybe I won't. We'll see.
I do not think that Aquaman 2 is going to be as epic as this right here. But oh my god, y'all. Yeah. No, Hollywood's scared. Hollywood is scared of Rebel Moon. And the narratives, they're trying to mount against Zack Snyder and his amazing cast. But it is so much more, y'all. It is not Zack Snyder's Star Wars. It is so much more than that. Hey, show it off, Fat Dan. Yeah. These are the CCXP exclusive posters. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah. So that's what they got. I'm pretty sure these are the ones that they got. And I saw these and I was freaked out. I was like, yeah, this cast, epic. I can't wait to talk
And
about
I was so nervous with this poster because, for those of you who don't know, I saw this in Chicago, but I live in the suburbs, having to take public transportation at night with a poster in my hand. And this I won at trivia.
Nice, Jimmy.
Yep, because I knew that they were fighting the Mother World. And I feel bad. Well, so someone guessed the Imperium, which isn't technically incorrect, but I guess it wasn't close enough, so I was the second person to raise my hand. And what's really funny, though, is that someone had shouted out the Mother World, but they said, raise your hand, don't just shout it out. So someone shouted out the answer for me, basically. But because I raised my hand first and they shouted it out.
Hey, you followed the ROEs, Bat Dan, so you got your prize, your great prize. They said the rules of engagement and you obliged. Therefore, you were rewarded with a Jimmy. I can't wait to talk about that character.
Oh, yeah, me too. And what's really funny, or not funny, what's really exciting is that they took pictures. The people took a picture of me with my prize, and they said the studio's gonna get these pictures. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is Netflix gonna possibly post these pictures on their platform with me and this and my popcorn that I held in my hand? That I guess they. So
nice. Did they have the Rebel Moon popcorn or just the regular popcorns?
Just the regular popcorns. I don't think they sold the Rebel Moon popcorns. Did they sell it for you?
No, I think those are at Walmart, but some screenings they got like a bag of them. So I'm jealous. I saw some people we didn't have any giveaways at my screening, but I'm going to go to Walmart, check your local Walmart, and they have like a Rebel Moon display, I think, in the electronics section. So I'm going there as soon as work gets finished.
Sounds good. So yeah, and also just to clarify, you said you're going to see Aquaman 2. I'm just saying, technically speaking, if you're watching this at the premiere, you're not going to see Aquaman 2. Technically, you're seeing it right now.
Yeah, so I did
Meta.
tell Skywalker the Jedi, I don't have to worry about rioting, having seen Rebel Moon, but I told Skywalker the Jedi when Mikey Sutton and Sil Abdul's, tidbits about co-heads of DC removing Ben Affleck and possibly Henry Cavill, if that happens in that movie, I'm going to be rioting. So stay tuned. I don't know if I'll be able to contain myself after that screening, but I'll try to post a little reaction afterwards. So we'll see how this competes with this epic movie, Rebel Moon. I don't think it's going to be a fair fight.
Now, I'll put it like this: the only place I want to see Jason Momoa as Aquaman again is on Netflix. Hashtag sells the jail to Netflix. Hashtag sells Snyderverse to Netflix. Which reminder coming up at the end of this show. So at the end of this episode. So
Yes.
anyway, let's get started. So opening act. So on this section, there's going to be a lot of trailer spoilers in this because one, it's the opening. I always feel the opening is kind of okay to give some spoiler-ish stuff. But so if it's in the trailer, feel free to talk about it, spoiler and all. If it's not in the trailer, or if it's in the trailer with a different context, because you know how context is. You might think it happened because of this. Obviously, don't worry, people. We won't spoil it. But overall, I really like this section because it shows a minor spoiler-ish, but basically it's farmers living their lives, just living their nice, peaceful lives. You see the community thriving, a simple farmer community thriving, and then the mother world comes and asks for stuff that they can't provide, and that's when Korra fights back. But I really love this segment. One, it's just visually appealing too. It's just such and that's actually a topic coming up, but just very beautiful imagery and just the moment where Cora just kind of is. There's a small little moment where she's doing her chores, doing her harvesting, whatever, and she just looks up at the moon, just really appreciating the gift of life, and just it's a small little moment, but I really love that. And then you just see the town kind of acting in their own community, just like going through that, but you really see that the town, they care about each other in this, and that's what's really special to me, is that the simple farming folks is that they all care about each other. If someone dies, it's going to be everyone's going to get affected by this, and that's what I really love. I guess what are your takes on this?
No, you're 100% correct. Like this opening scene, in my opinion, looking back, really sets the stage for, in my opinion, you know that line in Man of Steel when young Clark is being overwhelmed in the world by his new powers, right? And he's like, "The world's too big, Mom." And she says, "We'll make it small." We are really set up, in my opinion. We're thrown into Korra's journey in this small town, like you're talking about, but a bonded village of people, essentially on Velt, right? Just being essentially noble, good farmers. And we see that quiet moment with Korra doing her part in the community, right? In a community, in a tribe like that we see in Velt, everyone has a part to play, right? Everyone has a responsibility. It's a village, essentially, and they all help each other out. There's a quiet, tender moment as you were talking about, like where she's plowing, doing stuff with like seeds and stuff, farming essentially. And you see the gentle side of Korra really early on. And we're picking up in the middle of her story, just like, a serial back in the day that George Lucas was influenced watching. Those serials back in the day, sci-fi epics, was what George Lucas kind of took as inspiration for his Star Wars. So in our minds, our most prominent thing that we're homaging from George Lucas is Star Wars, right? So Star Wars picks us up in the middle of Luke Skywalker's just normal life, and so does this with Korra. So I really enjoyed seeing that because, like I said, in that evolution throughout the movie, we see that her world is small at first. And over the course, we get introduced to this universe where it is overwhelming and very lawlessness, but this village really is there for each other, and they kind of they kind of have their own little moral codes. And I really appreciated that, sentiment, because it starts to inform our journey that we're about to go on.
Well said. Very well said. And then when the mother world does come, I mean, obviously from the trailer, the mother world comes, you feel a lot more upset about. Like, you as the audience can really connect with it more when they do come and they do start asking for stuff, asking for food, and trying to really control that village. It's just you feel a lot more upset that their way of life is really crumbling, that they are now have to serve this evil government essentially, and it's very heartbreaking to see. And you really see why Cora has to fight, why she has to join them, because obviously from the trailer, she used to work for the Mother World and now no longer does, trying to get away from them and trying to keep trying to keep a low profile, but obviously she couldn't anymore when the Mother World went too far, which
Yep.
not quite what we saw in the trailer. I'll say that it looked like it was something else to me, but we'll talk about that in the. I mean, it could have been that same scene, but we'll talk more in the spoiler review. But yeah, so a lot more stuff to do.
I get what you're saying, because it really makes you, in my opinion, this scene, it kind of seemed a lot more like accessible, right? Like we're entering this world. We know it's supposed to be an alien world, but it's also like something you would see maybe in our reality, from our past. There's crazy creatures and there's crazy like designs, and you're like, what are they doing? But there's something like there's a lot of similarities, in my opinion, to Cora and Clark Kent, in my opinion. The way she's like raised on a farm with old school values, and she's kind of taken in these moral codes and values of this community that has taken her in, and we don't know why. We're like, what's your story? Why are you? Because it seems like from dialogue she's a part of it, but she needs to fully become part of it, right? And so her hiding a certain side of herself is kind of seen early on, because you see a different side of her tenderness, but you also see an edge that people are aware of. And so I like that. I saw kind of young Clark Kent and Cora at the beginning of this movie. So I love to see that parallel that Zach brought back.
Yeah, and that's the thing with every director, is that they're going to show a lot of their similar styles in this. They're going to see a lot similar type of characters, even the same actors. As there's two, we can say two because Ray Porter's in the trailer, so we can say Ray Porter's in this movie, and then we know Ray Fisher's in this movie. So, and we have a feeling, and according to Mikey Sutton, at some point Henry Cavill will be in this franchise too.
Did you see? Did you see that UK Netflix post where there's a voiceover of somebody and it sounds just like Henry Cavill? Did you see that?
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh my! I'm gonna send it to you. I pretty sure that's Henry Cavill. There's like a promo. It's like a sphere-looking thing, not the one in Las Vegas. It's in the UK, I guess, but it's got Jimmy and scenes from the movie, and it sounds like Henry Cavill to me. I don't know if that's been debunked, but everyone's in the comments. The last time I posted, like, oh my God, is that Superman? So
is that the official, and that's the official Netflix UK then, right?
UK and Ireland. Yeah, Netflix UK and Ireland. So check that out, people. I might be some hints from Netflix.
I'll put the link in the description of this video, so check it out. And so definitely would love to see that. But one thing we're talking about with the opening act was the visuals, and just overall. I'll start with you, Josh, on this one. What are your thoughts of just the overall visuals of this movie?
We are doing the DC EU watch-alongs, and during Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, we're really seeing Zach has stated that he originally, when he was in school, his aspiration was to be a painter. Therefore, there's a test, I think it was Leon of the New Geeks had talked about, because of Zack Snyder's iconic filmmaking style that is unapologetic and 100% him, you can kind of freeze frame any DC movie like Batman v Superman or Man of Steel, and it looks like a painting, like I'm thinking about just some of those landscape epics during the beginning of Man of Steel when you see the Krypton, you know, when you see Batman v Superman, when Superman and Doomsday are going at it, you know, with their laser eye, with the heat vision. Simple scene of Lois like about to drop the handful of dirt on Superman's grave on Batman v Superman. Like just little things look like paintings, and that is consistent in this movie. There's a scene that I talked about in our first Space-Tastic discussions where we talked about the trailer where there's like a field of asteroids where a ship's going through. And just that, like seeing just that sweeping landscapes of Velt. One of my first moments, Bat Dan, that I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps consistently throughout this movie. Honestly, I think it was even more than the amount of goosebumps I got during Zack Snyder's Justice League. Honestly, by a fourth of the movie, I had 4 different scenes where I got goosebumps. And the movie was only a quarter of the way through. So, and I continued. I think I got probably like goosebumps like 7 or 8 times, maybe by the halfway point of the movie. And it was the first time was that sweeping shot from the trailer with the 3 ships of the Mother World coming to Velt for the first time. Gorgeous, gorgeous visuals. And I was thinking about it. I was like, why did I just get goosebumps of a ship, you know, going through like a wheat farm? And it was just because there was so much care and craft. If you watch the behind the scenes of how Zach shot practically the way that those ships, you know, descended onto Velt with the wheat and the dust and the dirt swirling, he really made a mess out of that production because he got practical dirt to blow fans around, you know. But it looked so beautiful as they were coming in. And then as they descended, it starts getting messy and dirty. So I love that dichotomy. Several scenes throughout the movie, you know, I don't want to say, you know, there's some shots in the trailer that aren't in this, right? But there are certain ones that are just like in the trailer that you are even better than you remembered from the trailer. They definitely improved and polished. I talked about this with Skywalker the Jedi on his Black Adam watch party. Once you see this movie, you understand why Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, is a potential Academy Award winning nominee for visual effects. DJ and his other partner, I took a picture of the screen. Let me make sure I get it right. Really, really outdid themselves. Like the care and the craft of DJ and Marcus Tumaharia, the VFX supervisors. Wow, y'all. That Griffin, Batman, that Banu. Holy crap! What did you think of that?
That looked amazing. Like that shot, and again, you see it in the trailer too, where oh my god, let me just double check his name. I kept the not Kara, the guy who hops on the Griffin.
Yeah, Tarak.
Oh, Tara, you said. I thought you said Kara. I'm thinking
Tarak.
Oh wow, it's not even. I can't even find this guy on the Wikipedia cast list. Oh, Tarak. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Tarak.
Yeah, so that shot where he's running and jumps on the Griffin is such a beautiful shot, and certain other. I mean, okay, he jumps on the Griffin, he rides it. I think that's just common sense at this point. When he's riding the Griffin, it's so beautiful. It's so and just like the design of that Griffin just looks so beautiful. Just it was so well designed that again, people act like Netflix is some broke studio that can only produce cheap content. That looked like, I mean, even though yes, we both saw this in a theater, it's primarily gonna for streaming, not for theater. But it looked like this movie looked like it belongs in the theater. Like this does not look like a Netflix movie. This looks like a theatrical movie. So again, we don't talk too much DC on this particular show, but with Rebel Moon, it's gonna because it's Zack Snyder, it's going to interact every now and again. People say that with Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3 that like Netflix can't produce it because it won't look good. It's like superhero content. It's way too expensive for Netflix to produce that kind of stuff. I'm like, if you see Rebel Moon, like, no, that looked like theatrical quality. So I have no concern about, at least under a director who knows how to make stuff look good, under Zack Snyder. And another part I really liked is there's a final fight in the movie. I'll say that much. And in that final fight on whatever planet they're on, I'm saying it like that again to avoid spoilers. That fight looks so, another great looking fight in this movie. And just looks so well with the weapons they use, there may or may not be some explosions at certain points. Okay, we can give minor spoilers, I guess, for certain things that just you know happen because it's just every movie does that. But like, it looks so well, and when it just looked, it was such a good looking fight. Just it looks so great. And I'll tell you this, like, especially with explosion stuff, I'm going to tell you a real fact about me is that fire. When I say any kind of fire, even in real life, I'm not talking about it in the movies. Even like if I'm just sitting at a campfire with people in real life, fire always looks like CGI to me. So with any type of fire effect, you have to try extra hard for me to make it not look like CGI because real fire looks like CGI to me. I don't know why, but it just does for some reason. So explosions are going to look like CGI a lot more to me than other stuff is going to. But the explosions in this movie just look so realistic, and it shows that Zack Snyder can work with a budget, whatever budget's given to him. Zack Snyder knows how to make it work. And that's why I think here's the thing, even Zack Snyder's haters don't deny he has good visuals. Like that's one thing that even the haters will act like he doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Won't pretend he doesn't have that. So,
and even like something, we're ultimately, we're on Space-Tastic discussion. So we're gonna, Zack Snyder has said, you cannot have a conversation about Rebel Moon with, of course, not referencing Star Wars. So the parallels and comparisons are going to happen. But honestly, like just the simple fact, Dan, the blasters, the way the visuals of the blasters, so much care and effort that Zack Snyder put. He talked about how he made a special type of lens flare so that you see the effect, the sound of it when it also, accompanies the visual is just so threatening and more violent the way blasters are shown compared to a Star Wars. George Lucas created the blaster effect from A New Hope back in the late 70s, right? So there was a limitation on how you could make it look. And so for continuity now, Disney Star Wars had to keep that same type of effect. These blasters, wow. These blasters are, you every time you see a gun, you're just like, someone's going to die. Someone's going to die. There's no stormtroopers in this that are going to miss. They're going to connect. And a lot of people are blasted, and just the effect and how they look after they're got, blaster holes all in them. Wow. Just so much care. And the lightsabers, the molten swords. Woo!
Oh yeah, those are not lightsabers. Like, if you watch from the trailer, like, yes, it looks like they're just Zack Snyder's copying lightsabers, but no, the way that they really are just another type of laser swords. It's not, they don't act like a lightsaber at all. I know it kind of looks like that from the trailer, but when you see the movie, I can guarantee you they're not just lightsabers.
And they refer to the person, Nemesis, who primarily uses them as a swordswoman, because they are swords first. They are molten swords is what they are. And I love the visual cue. We're used to red being a color associated with Star Wars as the Empire, so bad, and blue as Jedi being good. Zack Snyder has flipped that, right? Because we see the Imperium using blue, and Nemesis, who's fighting on the Rebel side, is red. Red is a color of rebellion in this universe. So I love how he did that. Just little visual things like that. So much care and so much passion was put into every aspect, and the visuals is no exception, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Zack Snyder is good with visuals, and he's also good with music. Because I'm in band, music's so important to me when I watch a movie, because music really helps tell the story better. And again, Zack Snyder teams up once again with Junkie XL, from BVS to Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm pretty sure it was just Hans Zimmer on Man of Steel, but BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League, he returns to this movie with, and did he do Army of the Dead too?
Yes, he
Junkie
did.
XL?
He did. He sure did.
Okay, so again, this is why I like Zack Snyder though, is that he sticks with the people who works with him. He has a crew. He kind of likes to roll with them. He likes to roll with people that he works with. Because he keeps what works. And in this movie, the music was just so epic throughout the movie. The whole time when those credits played, oh my god, it just sounded so epic.
It was the music of a space opera, right? At like right from the get-go of the beginning, when you get the little narration, from a certain character setting up the world, and then by the end credit, you get that real journey of like something otherworldly and something a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away without being that, because there's so much care in Star Wars, right? For that music. And I think it was on on Junkie XL's shoulders to kind of have the music elevate the mythological story that we're about to get into. And I think he accomplished that. What do you think?
Oh, very well. I I think he accomplished it very well in this.
Me
He
too.
really separated it from Star Wars, which is kind of funny. Here again, Zack Snyder has to work in a similar type of franchise, replacing John Williams again with music from Man of Steel to
Yeah.
now, because John Williams is a composer of both the Christopher Reeve movies and Star Wars.
Yeah.
So
True. Hey, and Zach, we talked about how Zach loves Christopher Reeve Superman. Yes, but that was a different thing. He's honoring the new. And with Star Wars, that's that thing, but this is a new age for the universe. Therefore, the music is going to be new, exciting, and in my opinion, a little like provocative. That's the one thing I think that's the word I want to use for this movie in general, actually. This movie is provocative, in my opinion. And you get different elements too. You get like the music kind of shows you that in certain scenes. There's a lot of influence of like, there's like an Asian type of influence, like the Seven Samurai type, when certain, characters show up on screen. And that is a big part of, the Seven Samurai uh, trope that George Lucas was paying homage to, and Zack Snyder has used in all his movies as well. So you can see how it kind of homages Star Wars, but it actually ties back to stuff before Star Wars, in my opinion. Kurosawa and all that.
well, yeah, and I think Zack Snyder even kind of said this in some of his interviews too, is that he in a way he pays reference to other stuff too, like Dune and
Yeah.
any kind of. I mean, here's the kind of thing right now. We'll kind of, I guess, anytime Zack Snyder even said this, anytime there's any sort of space adventure, is always be compared with Star Wars, no matter what. So, and I
Yep.
feel like again with the music, it's a one way he really helps differentiate that from Star Wars is the epicness of it, not just, and like the music showing like consequences, stakes, and more. You see a lot more of the grittiness of war that's really communicated through this music.
Mm-hmm. And the
Because yeah,
visuals that we were just talking about,
yeah,
they are, in my opinion, assisted, like that shot of the ships coming on the belt over the wheat fields. Why did I get goosebumps from something like that? It was because the visuals plus Junkie's music really made you feel stakes, like, oh shoot, something's about to go down. And we talked about the Tarok, riding the Banu, the Griffin. That music. Wow, that scene. That's chef kiss. That is
Yeah.
that is a show stealer in my opinion, that scene. Monkey's music track in it and Tarok, wow. I blew my mind. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. I want to see it again. I want to see the movie again.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I mean, I'm really excited to see this movie again on Thursday. I need to see this movie again on Thursday. I would love. I mean, I envy some people like Leon and Sky and Marcus who are able to see it multiple times in theaters. Unfortunately, both of us, we were lucky we were able to just see it once in theaters. And I know some a lot of people watching this right now haven't seen this, won't see this at all in theaters. And
you got to see it on the biggest screen you can. If you have a friend who has a bigger TV than you, I would be like, hey, can I come over? We need to have a sound bar set up to have the music full blast, have it immersive, because you're in for a ride. Just like Tarok on that Banu. It's going to be a wild ride.
oh yeah, totally. It's just gonna be an epic, just a very epic ride. And just really, I just feel like the music really just shows the grittiness of war a lot more. Because like again, Star Wars was good for its time, but you don't really see the grittiness as much in these 6 films. But I feel like this, and the music kind of just makes it just, you just see a lot more of the epic, like the music in Star Wars communicates more of like the fun side of war, so to speak. Not that war is ever fun, but the way that it's communicated in Star Wars. And again, no knock on Star Wars, by the way. Good for its time, but times need to evolve. And again, the music shows more, and lots of different ways show the grittiness of war, but the music and the visuals too both show that grit of war.
Yep.
And shows, in a way, shows kind of the assholes more of war, communicates the villains more as being real villains. Like Titus, for example. I loved and hated this character at the same time. Like, I hated the character the way we're supposed to hate it. Like, it's like a villain, you're supposed to hate the villain. You're not supposed to like the villain. But
Wait. You're talking about Atticus Noble, not Titus, right? Atticus Noble is the villain we see at the beginning of Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Atticus.
Yes. You're right. That is Atticus. I kind of prepared this pretty last minute because for those of you who don't know, I think I said this earlier, coming back from Chicago again, it's not easy, and I got back very late at night last night.
Well, props to you, Bat Dan. I was the one who kind of saw that you had a screening in your area, so I immediately tried to redeem a ticket for you and send it to you. And, you were like, this is out of the way from where I live, but you know what? For Zack Snyder, I'm going to make it work. You got there hours before. You had to wait around. Yep. Nobody knew what was going on. Just let's take a minute to applaud both of us for going out of the way for Zack Snyder, but especially you, because, it's cold up in Chicago right now. It's winter time, and you had to really go on your own little hero's journey just to get to the theater. But hey, it paid off because you won a prize of Jimmy himself, and you got an amazing poster. So shout out to you. That's a real true Zack Snyder fan right there, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Bat.
Thank you. And for those of you who don't know, getting back ended up being a hassle too, because certain public transportation systems that run during the day don't run at night. And both my Uber and Lyft apps decided to not work while I'm in Chicago. And it's cold and I have stuff in my hands. So it was.
But hey, you made it. You were a little rebel. You were like, I'm going to move mountains to make this possible. And you did. And that's why we're here today. So thank you.
Exactly. I would not do this for any other director other than Zack Snyder. I would only do this for Zack Snyder. I would not do this for, put it like this. You're seeing Aquaman 2 in theaters right now. I'm saying right now, if you're watching this at the live premiere, or you're waiting right now, one of the two. But I would not, the amount of effort it took for me to get there, I would not do for Aquaman 2. No. And I like Jason Momoa. I still like Jason Momoa, but not like Zack Snyder. not like Zack Snyder. So,
No.
anyway, Atticus, that villain, oh my god, he is just he is a horrible person. Like, in this movie, he is the most sadistic person ever in I've ever seen villain. He just the way that he the kind of that villain cliche of honoring the deal but using a big loophole. He does that a lot. He
Mm.
takes pleasure in killing people. He takes pleasure in it's no hesitant for him. It's no hesitancy for him. Is that you want to see this person die. You when you watch this movie, you just want to see this person suffer one of the most painful deaths ever. And the actor did a really good job making us hate this character.
Yep. I I love that Zach really went all in because for those who don't know, he really George Lucas really studied, when he was developing the Empire, he's talking about real world stuff. So he pulled a lot of real world influences from dictators and tyrants from our own history. And you can see that in the way stormtroopers, are kind of like depicted as organized and following suit, just following orders, doing horrible atrocities. But in this Rebel Moon, right, these atrocities really are atrocities. Star Wars, we get to see the kind of like, oh yeah, we're blowing up planets. No, no. Zach shows you the destruction, and you get that early on with the arrival of Atticus coming to Velt and invading this peace that we were talking about that Cora is a part of in this small village. Yeah, he in a way, I don't know if you got this, but Ed Screen, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. He came off though as very charming at first, the way he comes and he embraces that character, and like, oh, take in mother's, the mother worlds,
Oh
he
yeah.
it's like uncomfortable, but he's also charming in this at the same time. So you're kind of your defenses are a little up, but then he unarms you with his accent, his charm, and then he hugs a character. But the way he does it is a little threatening, right? I was ready for like him to just like do something gnarly. And that slow little buildup and escalation really makes that scene tense because you're not sure. You're like, okay, he kind of seems like he's being civil. And then but little body language gestures that he does, you're just like, ooh, everybody needs to be on alert when this guy's in the room. 100%.
Yeah. The way he switches back and forth to make it seem like he just wants to help. He like comes in like he just wants to help. He's like, I just want to help you guys. I want to like he makes some comment about, you're like our children basically, some sort of comment like that, and we want to
Children
take
of the
care
mother
of
world.
you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then he, and then just starts with like, oh, well, we just need this. You just need to provide this for us. You just need to provide that for us. And that's how it becomes this very vile thing that he's slowly transitioned to this vile person that you really see him in. Because, well, as you were saying, Josh, with people just following orders, like some of these soldiers, like stormtroopers, oh, we're just following orders. Here's the thing with Atticus. Atticus, like, he enjoys it. That's what really makes him different than so many other soldiers. Like, I think there's a lot of soldiers in the mother world who are just kind of following orders because they need to survive and they have to do what they need to survive. But Atticus just enjoys it. And he's very sadistic. And the actor does such a good job of really showing that. But at the same time, he can still be intimidated. He can still be intimidated by his higher ups. With
Mm.
any like I love when villains do this. They seem like you see them, they're intimidating. No one wants to mess with them. And then eventually you see who they have to answer to, and Atticus just snaps. He goes from like this intimidating person that no one wants to be afraid, that no one wants to mess with, to him being on the other end where he's like he's trying to keep his cool, trying to keep his
Mm.
composure, but he doesn't want to get his higher ups mad at him because that's the thing with with any organization. Just even like you may have a supervisor who gives these hard expectations on you, but it's because they have and you're like intimidated. It's like, oh my god, I can't do this. But the thing is, they're answering to another supervisor a lot of times where they're like, oh my god, we gotta get this done, or else they're gonna get mad at me. And it's
Hmm.
passed on down, and that's what it is with Atticus, for example, is that he's passing down what he's receiving from the higher ups in the mother world, from I guess who that is supposed to be Titus, but
Oh no, that's
no, or not Titus.
Belisarius.
Yeah, Bellis. I'm just so people also know, I'm just also very bad with names. I am so
Yeah,
terrible. It's not like Zack Snyder's like the DC movies, where it's like I just know these characters because I've seen them plenty of times. So I
yeah.
promise on the spoiler review, I'll be better with the names of some of these characters after seeing it again. But
Hey, Zach blew our minds together, so no worries, right? It was a lot to take in. It's a universe coming at you
yeah,
fast and furious.
exactly. And but the fact that he has to answer to these people is just really, it shows how he can just really flip back and forth.
Yeah, and that's one of the fun things about the movie, right? Is we're not sure. Like I mentioned, we see Atticus Noble, as I was referring to, like certain like military type. He has like the military looking hat, military. He's very like pressed, sharp. And he comes into this village, and you can see they're in like rags. Cora, she's like, she's got like, not nowhere near as nice clothes. So there's a power imbalance you see right away. And Atticus Noble seems like the top dog, because when they land, they're like, oh, this is from the mother world, so everybody kind of clinches up. It's nerve-wracking, but you find out that this universe, there's like a whole hierarchy that we're not even privy of. And so oh, he answers to this, and this person answers to this, and this person, and you're like, oh, who's the real top dog in this, because it's one of the parts that's fun is seeing the world expand. Because like I was saying, it starts small with Cora and her little village, her little world, and slowly but surely the Joseph Campbell story, there's a call to action with Atticus Noble showing up, and the world gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So no wonder you can't remember all the names, Bat Dan, because it's like, whoa, mind blowing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm lucky I'm honestly surprised I even got this trivia right. Well, not completely. I just got lucky that someone else blurted out the answer before calling on me. But again,
Hey,
I
you did.
followed the rules.
It was
They
your
didn't.
destiny. It was your destiny, Bat Dan.
But just again, so many great characters in this. And just so people know, we're not going to necessarily go over every character spoiler free, because spoiler free, it's so hard to get into all these characters to really talk what we want to talk about
Yeah.
without going into spoiler territory. But we do got to talk about this guy because we're both Zack Snyder fans. I mean, we can't not talk about Ray Fisher in this movie. And my God, Ray Fisher is such a phenomenal actor. We thought that in the Snyder Cut, but even here, even a lot more. He really does a good job of balancing this badass leader with compassion.
Yep.
Because one thing, because I feel like what I like about this character is that you get this issue I have. Sometimes Star Wars did this with Rebels, is that they're not as compassionate as you think for people fighting against an empire. Like there are certain moments where Mon Mothma was kind of like, not every person matters. You got extremists like Saw Gerrera, who, and then like, so it just feels in a way you kind of get this with some of these other characters, is that not everyone matters. But the way Darian Bloodaxe is that no, to him every person matters to him. Everyone matters to him. So you really show that. It's like you see him at first, you don't think that with him. You think that, oh, he's going to be this mean person who's too busy to help. And I guess
Mhm.
this is kind of minor spoiler ish, but he's just such a great badass. Like he really shows that compassion and the badass warrior really well in this movie, and he cares about his rebels, and he shows that
Yeah.
so well in this movie. Is that he cares about the people who fights for him. He cares about the people he's trying to protect. He doesn't just act like it though. He shows it. And I really love that in the way and like and Darian gives some great speeches in this movie and the way he delivers them is just so powerful. And you can see why Zack Snyder cast Ray Fisher as Cyborg and cast him in this movie is that Zack Snyder has an eye for talent because think about when Ray Fisher was cast as Cyborg, he had no roles basically. I think like BVS might have been his first movie he was in technically.
Yeah. Yep. This first big screen Hollywood production. Yeah.
So.
And one thing that you said, Bat Dan, really struck with me just now. You know, early on, we're kind of there's an exchange and a dialogue, but with two characters where they kind of talk about this sentiment of, you know, compassion and empathy being struck down when the king and queen were slain. You know, we're basically we don't get a crawl, so to speak, but we get dialogue that works as a crawl, you know, and kind of sets up, okay, this is what's happening in this universe. And they talk about how there was an assassination with the king and the queen, and on that day, compassion and love and understanding kind of left the universe at that, you know. And so I love seeing how Darian Bloodaxe in particular, as you were talking about, you know, he's had to be a war hardened mercenary rebel, right? He's had to develop that and grow into that. And apparently that's something that you will find out his journey with his sister, Deborah Bloodaxe, as well in the comic book prequel that's coming out in January, House of the Bloodaxe, Rebel Moon, House of the Bloodaxe, issue #1. But you can sense that even though when you're introduced to Darian Bloodaxe, Ray Fisher, he's huge. He's intimidating. He was giving me like Bishop from X-Men Days of Future Past type vibes. Like if you know that comic book storyline, he is intimidating. But through dialogue and, you know, certain characters, you see a little bit of, you know, compassion in him because he relates to a lot of these other characters. And therefore, he has his own little call to action, hero's journey in itself, right? He's on a mission when we are introduced to him and his sister, but they are confronted with a problem and a call to action. And Darian Bloodaxe has a heart, and you see that. And Ray Fisher, that's something that Zach knew was going to be perfect because he played that same kind of character with Cyborg in Zack Snyder's Justice League, right? He goes from F the world, you know, when Wonder Woman tries to get him out of his shell and eventually becomes one of the biggest heroes in the movie and ultimately the heart of Zack Snyder's Justice League. And so Zach was perfect in casting him for this type of role because he's like, I saw what you did with Victor Stone, you know, as Cyborg. So I'm going to need you to play not necessarily that, but somebody who has a fierce exterior, but also a heart of gold and very noble. He was a very like noble character in my opinion. So shout out to Ray Fisher because you transformed in this, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And to be honest, and this is going to kind of be a recurring theme, I feel like, with this version of the movie is my only criticism is I wanted to see more of him. I feel like I wish we saw a lot more of Darian Bloodaxe. And I think we will. Make no mistake, I think we will see more Darian Bloodaxe. But I do hope in the director's cut, and I think we will see him a lot more in sequels too.
Agreed.
So yeah, I think there's a lot more that they'll show with him. So
I can't wait. I already have those issues 1 and 2 of House of Bloodaxe comic books are available for pre-order, and they are pre-ordered. I have the variant. I have the primary cover and the variant cover on pre-order, and I can't wait to see their journey.
Are those on Amazon?
I actually get them. You can, I think. I get them through Comic Hub. It's basically the distributor for different comic book shops. So my comic book shop uses them. I have an account. I'll send you the link actually, Bat Dan, if you want.
Thank you.
Rebel Moon Titan Books. They on their Twitter, they've been posting about it, and you can go to a link, and there's several ways to pre-order it, but I did it through comicshub.com. So I'll send you that link.
Thank you. So
Yes,
yes,
sir.
definitely, and hopefully by the time you guys are watching this video, I actually have already ordered it. It's so weird recording this not live because it's like trying to somewhat talk like it's in the future, since I know for the audience it is the future. So it kind of reminds me. I saw that like Austin and Sil when they were doing that one sports show that they had recorded in advance because Sil was I think it was no, it was Austin, I think, who was catching the game. No, I don't remember if it was Sil or Austin who was catching the game live. If
Okay.
Sil or Austin are in the chat, correct us in the chat. And since this isn't live, we won't be able to say it live on here. So just correct. But one of them was seeing the game, so they had to do it early. And there were so many times where Austin kept saying Saturday night. It's like, oh, I mean Sunday, but I'm recording it on Saturday. That's what I'm kind of going through right now with this. Is like,
No
it's like,
worries.
oh, it's not 5. I'm trying to talk like it's 5 o'clock ish now, and it's not. So
We're in the Speed Force
but
with Austin, right?
exactly. Who again? Shout out to Austin, by the way, for getting me this background real quickly, like very last minute that he got this. So, which
Beautiful.
just showed it real quick.
Space-Tastic Holiday 2024. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yep. Happy holidays. This won't be on my Christmas playlist, but I'm still going to use the Christmas intro, background, logo, and obviously decor.
Timed appropriately too.
Exactly. I mean, hey, Zack Snyder got this movie out during Christmas time, which is a very popular time to get movies out because people need to do stuff with their families.
And
I've
this
been
one
even trying to get
caused
some.
a lot of conversation, right? I think Darian Bloodaxe, as a character, we're gonna have a lot of dialogue. Certain people are gonna have, his role in the movie. I think it's gonna be kind of debated by a lot of people and a talking point. So I'm excited for all the characters, not just Darian, but I think that there's gonna be a lot to discuss over the holidays for families and
Oh yeah,
friends.
absolutely. The more I talk about this movie, the more I just want to see it again. I really want to see this movie again, and that's how you know a movie's good, is that when you really want to you want to see it again badly. Because I'll be honest, like Wonder Woman 1984 was one I was easier on when I saw it in theaters at first, but there were
Mhm.
some things in my subconscious where I'm like, yeah, it wasn't that good. Even Justice League, I'll be honest with people.
Mhm.
Justice League was one I was in denial about being bad because I just did not want that movie to be bad. But deep down, there were some little things like not being in a rush to see it again. Whereas this movie, I need to see it again. I need to see it again so badly. The
Agreed.
more
I saw your right at a theater reaction, and I was like, "Yep." Mine was exactly as soon as the credits went up. It said "end part 1," and my theater was clapping, and then there's like a few other credits, and then it's like "Rebel Moon," and I was like, "Ah, when is part 2? I need it now in my veins."
Yeah, by the way, I'm gonna put the link to to that video in the chat because I had an issue with Twitter cutting the video by mistake. Like it's like they did trim as a default option. Why would you do that as a default option
Oh, okay.
halfway through the recording? So I have the full video in the description because I re-uploaded it with the full video because
Okay.
there's some stuff in there. It's kind of pointless to watch now. I mean, if you're watching this video, but just out of principle, if you've seen if you saw it at first, click on this one, the 45-second version. If you saw that one, click on the minute-long version because that one really needs to be. I want that one to be the more known one. So that's why
You
I'm
love
advertising it in here.
Yeah, yeah, you love to see. I mean, I just love watching those immediate. That's why, that's become a trend on the YouTube space recently. And it's raw, it's honest, and it shows your excitement. Just, you know, this is not, in my opinion, this movie got review bombed for
Oh
an
yeah.
important, like it's just obvious, guys. It is, so don't
Oh,
worry. If you're a Zack
there's
Snyder
a
fan
whole
and you're like,
topic for that later
yeah,
on too.
it's obvious that they're scared. Hollywood is scared because this gives you a taste and you're just gonna want part 2 immediately. Leave them wanting more. Zack Snyder and Netflix, they're so smart. So smart.
Exactly. And there's so many great characters that I want to see more of, like Gunner, for example. I
Yes.
love this character. It's like, basically, I'll kind of say it like this: is that he's on a redemption arc for a mistake he made. We'll say it like that.
Yeah.
That's how we'll say it. And you really feel the guilt of that mistake carry with him throughout the movie.
Hmm. And this character, I saw the movie with two of my friends, and my friend Alex, I asked who was your favorite character out of everyone, and this was my friend Alex's favorite character, and I loved him as well. We get to meet him early on. He's a part of that scene we talked about with Cora, in the on Belt in the week doing the farming type of activities, and he's doing his own thing, and Cora's doing her thing, but he comes and into her scene and kind of like so you're immediately like, oh, Cora and this guy are from the same world, so they got that kind of soft, both soft spoken kind of like community feel where the world is small, it's smaller, it's like Kansas, it's Smallville. And then eventually, just like with Cora, Gunner, there's something that happens with him, and there's a call to action for him, and he makes a decision that, like you said, he kind of ends up regretting and paying for. And every character is on that redemption path in this movie. But Gunner in particular, he has to learn how to be a rebel. He is kind of a rebel, we hear about some of the things he's been doing, but then he fully becomes a rebel throughout the course of this movie. And you see that transition. And he's got one of the biggest, kind of arcs, in my opinion, in part one. So no telling what's going to happen in part two, because there's a lot. There's a lot that's happening.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this character, I don't think we'll talk about for too long in this video, because I feel like he's in my opinion, him and when we get to Kai, those two are characters, let's just say, I don't think we can talk about too much without giving it away. So
yes,
let's just say there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up with Gunner. The actor is awesome. It's great chemistry with Cora, and that's all we'll say, because we'll talk a lot more in the spoiler filled review. Now,
Jimmy, my
and
favorite.
it's really funny with this movie too, is that there's a lot more real names in this movie compared to Star Wars. Like, aside from Luke and Ben, you don't really see a lot of real names in this movie. You see a lot more names that people probably like. Han. No one names their kid Han. I don't know anyone who names their kid Leia. Leia I've heard, but not Leia. I haven't heard the name Owen, Baru. Are Owen and Baru even names?
Yeah, they were names.
Okay, yeah, I guess those are names. But like Anakin,
Right.
Shimmy, Qui-Gon, Mace.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, like, it feels like there's a lot more people who could have. I don't know, like Jimmy just. I mean, maybe there's not that many more, but Jimmy just sounds a lot more Earth related than. I mean, let's just say I have a feeling that this may actually be the Milky Way galaxy in the future. Let's just say, which is,
and that's the part that I was talking about, right? Like, this world of Velt, it doesn't seem as, it's an alien world. We get that, but it seems more accessible to us because there's like horse type creatures. They're not horses, but more or less they are, right? And then later on, we see like dogs even. So it's not as, huh?
Flat out dogs, by the way, to
Yeah,
clarify, not
dogs.
like a
Yeah.
version of dogs, but dogs and birds and like actual birds. Again,
so there's a lot. Yeah, you're right, Bat Dan, about it being in the Milky Way galaxy, 100%. But that helps with us being, because we're thrown a lot, names and planets and mythological and ranks of the Imperium. But Jimmy, as crazy as a design, as my favorite character in the movie, it makes it accessible. Okay, it's a Jimmy, and it's so crazy that the VFX work make you really care about this character. In my opinion, you listen to what this character, whatever it is, what they're saying. And it's amazingly done by the one and only Anthony Hopkins. What do you think about his work?
He has one of those voices that just, if you have that, like people like Morgan Freeman, James Earl Jones, that like Anthony Hopkins, he's kind of like in their league with, like, he has that voice that like you can make anyone listen to you. Like anything that Anthony Hopkins say is interesting. He could talk about, I don't know, making a sandwich for 5 minutes and I would be intrigued the whole time because he has that he has that special voice. And just anything like when, and we can talk about this because that's just in the trailer, when Jimmy's talking about the story of Princess Ether. I hope I pronounced that. Issa. I can't pronounce these names, but when she's talking about that story, it's just, again, I'm just very intrigued the whole time, just partly because of the way that Jimmy talks. And basically, he's a robot, and he kind of, in this movie, he starts as kind of like a robot who has a specific duty, but he kind of slowly, let's say, he kind of starts to build his own mind, his own beliefs, like starting to think a lot more like a human would.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I hate giving any kind of AI type thing credit in this day and age, but that's
it's something. Hey, that's something that's in a lot of sci-fi right now. One of my friends actually said that he's felt like there was a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with Westworld, but he got some Westworld vibes in some of the narrative throughout this movie, and I think that's evident in Jimmy, because even though his design made incredible by DJ is looks very robotic and very industrial like, there's also, like, Jimmy's able to emote, in my opinion, right? The way Anthony Hopkins plays him and the certain effects that happen in his design. And I was like, wow, that's unexpected. But you see a change in the character by looking at this crazy looking robot face, android face. And he is, even though it's a robot android, he is a character with an arc. And Zack Snyder did not forget about him. And that's why I want more, just like you, but he's my favorite character in the movie so far.
what I'm wondering too. So, how they did Jimmy? Did they give him a costume? Did they give another actor a costume, or is he a puppet? Or
I do know that there's a guy who plays a stunt. You know, he's listed on the cast list, but I would imagine it was done very similar to okay, Dustin Seathammer is the stand-in.
And he does a really good job. Like we gotta give him credit too, because just like with Darth Vader, David Prowse needs his due too. But Dustin Seathammer, I probably pronounced that right, but he does such a really good job again with those expressions, with the silent part of what he's of Jimmy, like the silent, not showing his, like, those emotions that he makes without his voice. Just like kind of like an example was Return of the Jedi. Before George Lucas added that no in, which was not necessary in my opinion, when the Emperor's beaming Luke and Darth Vader's kind of looking back and forth, and you can tell without him saying no how conflicted he is. And that's all without James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones does not do this at all. He has no involvement until George Lucas made that stupid decision with the 2011 Blu-rays and every version from there so on to add in that no. It's all David Prowse. And just like I feel like with this movie, there's a lot of Dustin Seathammer. I am so sorry, people. I'm so
I don't
sorry,
know.
Dustin's.
Dustin, we'll
See,
call him Dustin.
hey, we're trying to at least give this guy credit. Like, we gotta give this guy credit too, because there's a lot of stuff in there that, without any motion, without any voice, that he does a really good job feeling this guy's emotions.
Mm-hmm. And that's just a character, like I said about like Ray Fisher's Darien Bloodaxe. You know, he's built for battle. He's built for war. These machines are, part of a structure in this lawless galaxy, and but there's also a hint about the ability of compassion, and it's funny how certain characters need certain things to happen, like they said, like in Superman, Lois Lane was the key to his heart, and so certain characters unlock that key for Jimmy and Darian Bloodaxe, and so you get to see a different side of them, and it's kind of like you're captivated by this character. You're like, wow, you're really ready for battle and war, but also you're dynamic. You're not just a mindless android. You're so much more. And Zach and DJ really brought that to life.
Very well. Well said. And that it just shows why every person matters, why every person matters in creating certain characters, not just the voice actor. So it shows why the entire crew really matters. So, and Zack Snyder does a really good job, like bringing that all together. And that's why I like how Zack Snyder sticks with his team, like sticks with the people who work for him, because that's how you make another successful movie. It's my rant about Wonder Woman 1984. Is one of the biggest issues. Patty didn't keep what worked, and that's why the second movie wasn't received as well as the first movie. But Zack Snyder, he keeps what works, and it from his previous movies, and that's why you get more movies, more great movies from Zack Snyder, and why this epic was as good as it was. Because to me, if it was just Zack Snyder with a terrible crew, it wouldn't work. But the reason why Zack Snyder is so great is he sticks with what works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing I was thinking about too, Jimmy's arc, he's programmed by, you know, certain fractions for orders, and so you never, even though you see a compassionate side of him with certain characters, there's also his programming. So there's a lot of like commentary about the AI you were bringing up about, programming and following orders and free will and that conflict. When are you just going to do what you're told, and when are you going to try to have some empathy? And there's that struggle because certain, things happen in the movie, and it's like, okay, I got to be helpless at this point. Do I have to be helpless at this point? And so I love that internal struggle for Jimmy, because he is, kind of capable of more, but he's programmed for death and battle. So you kind of, it's fun to see how it all kind of plays out, in my opinion.
I can't wait to see more how it plays out too, because I think definitely a lot more of him, and also I think the extended cut will give a lot more of him, because I think there's so much more with.
Yes, I need that. I need that.
Now, here's another character that will. I'll admit, he's another one where it's kind of hard to completely talk about without going into the spoiler territory, but
Yeah.
let's just say that he was another Charlie Hunnam, just another really great character, a really great actor, I should say. Another really great actor is that he portrays this guy who's kind of, in a way, he is. I know Mikey said that Henry Cavill's character, Mikey Sutton to clarify, for people who don't know, I know he said that Henry Cavill will become more the Han Solo-like character, and I agree with that. But I do think there's some aspects of Kai that is kind of like,
Oh yeah, he's Han
Han
Solo.
Solo too.
He's
Yeah.
100% Han Solo, in my opinion. Like when I was telling my friend about all the cast, he didn't know anything. He didn't watch the trailer, nothing. One of my friends, Andre, and he was like, "Oh, Charlie's in this," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, think of him as Han Solo, and then once you see it play out, you're like, "Oh yeah, this dude is just like." You meet him, in a seedy place, and he comes out of the shadows, and he's playing the angles. He's like, "What's in it for me?" But he's also charming, just like Han Solo. He's like, "I can help you, far small fee," of course, like just what he says in the trailer, and very similar to Atticus Noble, in my opinion. That accent and that charm really makes you like you're pulled into his journey 100%. And my God, I know he doesn't want to play Green Arrow, but my God, seeing him in this movie, he's perfection.
I think if Zack Snyder called him for, let's say when we get ZSJL 2 on Netflix and Zack Snyder needs a Green Arrow and he gets Charlie Hunnam, I think for Zack Snyder he would do it.
I think Zach needs to just work Charlie Hunnam because yeah, just seeing him in this movie, y'all, and the scenes that he has, he's kind of perfect. I know he doesn't. If he doesn't want to, that's fine. But Charlie, come on, you are Green Arrow, 100%.
I mean, he does literally wear a green hood and he shoots someone.
Yeah.
And I'll say this: I think he'd make a better Green Arrow than Stephen Amell.
Oh yeah, Oliver
Little
Queen.
cold, I know,
Ollie.
but
100%.
he could play that rich. He could play like this. He could play a Green Arrow how Green Arrow is meant to be portrayed.
Yeah,
not
a Batman.
Batman. Yeah, exactly. We won't go too much more into that, but yeah, he's just another really great actor in this movie. And again, we can't say too much about his character without going into the spoiler territory, but you really just feel that he goes from like this person who starts caring, who's the selfish character, and he slowly becomes a person that who's just genuinely compassionate. And we'll expand and in the spoiler review, make no mistake, but for what we're saying here is that you feel this guy is really compassionate, has like after going on this journey, really you feel like that he's changed for the better. So
we meet him
yeah,
early on, right? So we get to see like evolution happen. And Charlie did a great job. Children of the revolution.
You just got that in my head when you said that. So
It really
yeah,
is though. That song is really represents the movie. Children of the Revolution. We are.
and you feel like his moments with Cora in this movie, you really feel those two have great chemistry. Like there were certain points where I thought maybe those two will end up together instead of her and Gunner.
Yeah,
Not that
there's
the
a few.
romance is totally forced in this movie, but
No. And the way the world is set up, like we meet early on, what Cora and her village, there's like a seasonal thing that's happening. And it kind of shows you that this world, yeah, it is a village on Velt that is close knit and bonded, but there's also, needs for the greater good, and so therefore there's a need for procreation and pairing up. And so, Cora is, like I said, she kind of reminds me of Clark Kent. And so she meets several characters. We find out that there's several, potential love interests. And so it's kind of like, I'm not going to say all who, but Kai kind of is one person that is potentially kind of seemed like a potential, and because Cora doesn't want to choose, right, in her village. But when she gets exposed to the greater universe and gets back out there, she kind of has that sentiment in her mind. And I love that Kai has that Han Solo edge, and she's kind of drawn to that a little bit, I think.
and who knows, maybe when she meets the Henry Cavill character that Mikey Sutton keeps scoop again, hashtag MV4E, Mikeyverse forever. I think I could see her maybe in Cavill, maybe they'll hit it off too. So
no telling. I would love to see it.
And again, I'm just going to say this right now because I'm sure Cavill. Let's just say I'm confident that Cavill will be the real Han Solo type character in Rebel Moon. And I'm just going to say this, and I always say this: if or when Cavill is in Rebel Moon, I want that British accent. I do not want to see his American accent. He can use it for Superman, but for this character, I want his regular British accent.
Well, in that little promo I told you about, he does use his accent. So I'm just saying, if that's Henry Cavill, I don't know if that's Henry Cavill, but whoever it is has an accent. So I'll make sure you send that to you.
Thank you. Now, before we move, and again, we'll stop here with Kai because we have a lot to say when we get to the spoiler review, and a lot of things to we'll say clarify when we get to the spoiler review. But other supporting characters. So before we get to Korra, is there anything you want to say about any of the other supporting characters before we move on to Korra?
I loved General Titus. So General Titus is Shazam, the wizard Shazam. You know, Digimon Hansu.
Oh,
so
I did not realize that.
Yeah, he is somebody who you get a taste of his journey, and you really see him evolve as well. I loved Tarok. That's a character who, like I said, mentioned about the Banu scene, show stealer, and somebody who's very capable of making their own decisions for themselves. I love the minor role, but Ray Porter, spoiler alert, but he's in the trailer. Ray Porter's role was somebody completely different than the Lord of Apocalypse Darkseid.
Oh yeah, that was such a different character in this than Darkseid, and that's Ray Porter. And again, Ray Porter's role it's a very small role, and he's still a bad guy. Well, he's more of a douchebag than a bad guy, in my opinion. He's just another great character in this movie. And then and yes, I love the different people. I love again, this is where I say you're so much better at the names than I am. Let me just check. Nemesis, yes, the one with the lightsaber. I love that character in the movie. And again, this is in the trailer when she fights the spider lady in that, and just let's just say there's a really great scene where she's conflicted for a certain reason. You can tell she's conflicted because she has to do what she has to do, but she feels bad about why she has to do it. And the actress did such a good job of really showing that.
Yeah, and her design was just amazing as well. Totally like her influence and her little theme music where she's, she has interactions with Harmada, and that the way that the Seven Samurai type influence, the Kurosawa-ness of it all, is apparent throughout the movie, but with her scene, it's just blatantly in your face. The way that seedy underground that she's in a part of an environment of, she's just really silent. She has a lot of restraint as a character, but she's compassionate as well, but able to flip on a switch and become a badass warrior swordsman with her lightsabers that look so freaking clean. Like, I understand there's a Walmart statue of Nemesis, I believe, our action figure, and if I find one, I think Nemesis might have to be on my shelf over here, because she, spoiler alert, but she's a motherly figure, right? But what in this universe, in a lawless galaxy, you have to be capable of being maternal, but also standing up for yourself. And once again, without being pandering or without putting it in your face, Zack Snyder is a feminist.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I asked about all these characters to my friends afterwards, I was like, did it feel woke to you? And they were like, no. They joked. They were like, well, that brothel scene seemed a little woke, but no spoilers, that one brothel scene, but they were joking.
Okay, I can kind of see why people would think that a little bit, but in general, it's not that bad. It's like, this is why I like this is why Zack Snyder does diversity well. Is that when he does diverse characters, he doesn't do diverse characters. He does characters who happen to be diverse. And I say this all the time with this stuff, is that, again, Batwoman. My biggest issue with season 2 with that show was that the character's main personality was that she was an LGBT black woman oppressed by the system. But that was her personality. That's what I have an issue with. And it's disingenuous, and it's disingenuous to the people that you're trying to protect or trying to represent, whatever you want to say. It's very disingenuous when they do it like that. But Zack Snyder, he knows how to do it. Is that he knows how to just make female characters be female characters. And if they're of different races, they just happen to be of different races, but that's not their personality. Because that's how it should be. Is that, look at us in Soul Nation. We're a very diverse group of people, but we don't talk about it. We very rarely talk about how we're different races. I mean, I know still has joke with some black guy because inside joke for people who don't know. But other than that, we don't. We're just friends of people because we like each other and have a same interest. That's how diversity should be. The way it is in real life is that all these people, all you guys, are just my friends. I don't think about, and that's how Zack Snyder does it. Is that they're just people who are trying to work together, have a common goal. With same thing with CSGL. Whatever race they are, it's just irrelevant. They're just people. And how it should always be portrayed is that we're just people at the end of the day. And Zack Snyder shows that really well. And Korra, she's a badass character on her own. Except for maybe the brothel scene a little bit. No one else is put down to prop up Korra. It's not like, and maybe we'll get, I'm just gonna get into this since I mentioned Korra.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if I brought up this example with you, Josh, but in Supergirl season 2, Superman's on Silver Kryptonite and thinks Supergirl is Zod. So they fight, Supergirl beats Superman. But the thing is, they made a big thing about Supergirl beating Superman. He's like, you beat me. I was at full strength. They had to nail it in your head that Supergirl beat Superman. They had to nail it in our head that Supergirl was stronger than Superman, even though Superman has 15 years more experience than Supergirl. But anyway, they had to prop down Superman to prop up Supergirl. But Zack Snyder, he doesn't do that. He just makes the character badass. Like, Korra is just a badass character on her own by being badass. Everyone around her is not this bumbling idiot to prop her up. She herself is just a great badass character, and that's why I like her. That's why Sophia Boutella is such a great actress, is that the way she feels bad when, and you see this in the trailer, the way she delivers that stop line, you can tell, and again, this minor spoiler, but I kind of knew this from the trailer, is that she's from the mother world, and she's trying to get away and leave, and keep a low profile, and she really does not want to get involved again. And you can tell that regret, that's like, she feels bad that this is happening, that whatever is happening, but at the same time, she knows she has to step in because this act can't occur. And let's just say when the act is about to occur, it's worse than the trailer. You're like, I'm like thinking the whole time, please, Korra, just stop this right now. Like stop these evil mother world bastards. Like put like this. I don't even mind. If you see the movie, you'll agree with me. I don't even mind Cloud saying, please kill them. Like, please just kill them already, is what I was even saying.
Oh yeah.
So,
and that line in Man of Steel where Lois is talking to Clark and confronting him about unveiling himself to the world, she's like, I imagine the only way for you to keep a low profile is to stop helping people altogether, and I have a feeling that's not an option for you. And with Korra, like I said, she reminds me of Clark Kent because we know she has a past and she's capable, but she's like so nervous of getting others involved in something they shouldn't be involved in, and there's a lot of restraint, and she backs away, and she does cower at first, but when there's something right in her face so egregious, there's no longer the time to be silent and to let something happen so egregious. And she literally has a transformative let loose moment. That scene where she finally comes out of her shell, you see it in the trailer, that first scene. Wow, Bat Dan, it was erupting with applause. That early scene, how it all plays out, I was the first one. I was like, yeah. And then the whole theater started joining after that climax happens, when you see Korra come out of her shell and become the badass child of fire that I think she is. And Sophia Boutella, man, I posted this in my out of the theater reaction. Just like, wow, one of my favorite characters. I think I like Jimmy just a little bit more than Korra, but Korra is wrestling because she is our main focus. And there's so much more to learn about Korra. And we've only barely scratched the surface on her, but she does have a journey at the same time, right? But there's so much we don't know, even though we go on a journey with her, which is crazy. We don't even really know what, how she got to Belt, really. We hear about it, but I want to see I want to see how it plays out, because there's all these little things that are little Easter eggs that give us clues, and Zach did it brilliantly by wanting us to know more about this protagonist. So shout out to Sophia Boutella, because you are a badass, first and foremost.
Yeah, she and Zack Snyder. This is why I like Zack Snyder. Is that he does such a great job with female characters by making them badass. He is probably one of the best directors for female characters. Is that he knows how to just make them badass. It's like, and again, Zack Snyder's a feminist, but he's not a douchebag about it. He's not like, he just he treats them the way they should be, just equal characters, like not making them special, making them equal, the way they should be, the way. And again, I don't want to get too political with this. I know it's not perfect in the world. I know there's still issues and stuff, but we have to do what we can to try to make it fair, to try to make it equal. Every one of us, and Zack Snyder does that, and he does what he, and that's why I love Zack Snyder when he does any female characters. Like, my favorite female fight scene is still the Amazon fight scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League. That is probably my best favorite female fight scene I've ever seen. And again, I bring this up because I know this is a common. It's going to be compared no matter what, because I know there's less female leads than there are male leads and stuff, and I know there's comparisons about how it's done because of that. And what I like Zack Snyder, it's just normal with her. It's just with him. It's normal with him, and Cora, just, you can tell she cares. She cares about people. She cares about the community the farming villages that she's helping. Sophia Boutella shows that really well. The way in the beginning, she just appreciates the little moments with enjoying I guess it was a sunset. Yeah, it was a sunset. It was kind of nighttime. So she just taking a moment, the way she just looking at that, just without a single word, appreciating the precious gift of life. A small little moment that we need to enjoy in our real lives too. Is that I'm guilty of not always taking a moment to appreciate that, but she shows that, and just Cora she is the lead for the show. She is definitely the lead, and I feel like any one of these characters could have been a lead, but she is the best among them, in my opinion. Like, she is objectively the best character in this movie, because really she really cares about people. She cares about people. She gets down to business. She's a badass fighter. I mean, again, you saw from the trailer, she can take so many people down at once. And there are still moments where people help her too at the same time, and it doesn't feel like, there are certain moments where she did need saving, but it didn't feel like she was being diminished as a result. It was just, you're taking on these people by yourselves. You're gonna need help once in a while, and that's perfectly okay. I feel like that's the thing with female characters, a lot female leads. It's like they can't have help at all because they need to shine on by themselves. And no, they're human and they need help just like men do, just like people do.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. Like, talking about this lawless galaxy, not to spoil anything, but the thing you talked about with Zack Snyder being, matter of fact and equal, we see women being harassed, right? But we also see men being harassed as well in this lawless galaxy. And as Cora, is cultivating life in that precious early scene, she's seeding, right? She's seeding the soil. She's growing. She's cultivating life. And the Imperium comes, the mother world, and blows. You see symbolically those seeds are being blown away out of her hands. She drops them and it's going everywhere. They're disturbing the life, right? And because they're disturbing the life that she's trying to cultivate on Velt, she's pissed. She gets pissed over time, and therefore she goes on the journey to the bigger world. But she's able to handle things on Velt, right? But as she expands her journey, she gets overwhelmed in certain situations. And so, yeah, she can't do this. She finds out she cannot do this alone. She says, I know what the mother world wants. Everything. They want to take everything from us. And I can't do this alone. It's a suicide mission. That's why she's so reluctant at first. But when she finds that there's other rebels out there like her, she's like, let's go. And she gets herself into some dangerous situations where, it's this world is provocative, y'all. That's the one word that I want to use to describe. Zack Snyder made a very provocative movie, and it's the PG-13 cut, right? So can you imagine how the rated R version is gonna? And it's 100%, accessible, but also edgy. This theatrical cut, right? Or a regular cut. But the hour extra that we're gonna get is gonna be even more provocative. So I can't wait to see what the threat that Cora really is, because I think you just really get a taste of it. We're just scratching the surface in this version. But it's ultimately satisfying because Cora is, I don't even think she's symbolic of Luke Skywalker, but she's honestly a little bit more badass in the first movie than Luke Skywalker was, right?
Oh yeah,
That's why
absolutely.
I think she's more of like a Clark Kent, in my opinion, a Man of
I
Steel.
think To me, I think if Clark Kent and Luke Skywalker had a baby, that's what Cora is to me. Because there are aspects. Well, I mean, I guess I don't know, because the main aspect of Luke Skywalker she has is a farmer, which Clark Kent also is too. So
Yeah.
maybe really not even just. See, people are going to compare her to Luke Skywalker, and this kind of transitions us actually pretty well to this next topic. Is they're going to compare it to Luke Skywalker because they're going to compare it to Star Wars. So Luke Skywalker is going to come up a lot, but the reality is the only similarity she has to Luke Skywalker is being a farmer, but Clark Kent's also that. I mean, let's just say the person they keep calling her dad isn't really her dad. We'll say it like that.
Yep.
So people might try to say it's Luke Skywalker in that way, but no. In a
Well,
way, it's if
Jonathan
you
Kent
watch,
as well.
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. The person who put it like this: when you watch the movie, there's a certain when they explain her origin and how she ended up with the Mother World. Let's just say that origin is a lot more Clark Kent than it is Luke Skywalker. So it's not. There are similarities to Star Wars in this movie. I mean, yes, the main character being a farmer, starting off in a farm type village like Tatooine, but the lightsabers, as you said earlier, they're not lightsabers. They're just molten swords, and they can kind of turn into something from the trailer that looks like a lightsaber. And I don't care about spoiling this. This is so minor. Basically, they don't go in. It's just a regular sword, and you flip a switch, and it turns into a lightsaber or a molten sword. So it's not a lightsaber at all. It kind of looks like one. And yeah, minor spoiler, but that's not going to ruin the movie for anyone, I think. So it's just it really is different than Star Wars. There are similarities to Star Wars. I mean, you're fighting an evil empire in but I think this is Earth. I think, or
Uh,
maybe not everything's Earth, but like
it's
again,
earthly.
they have dogs. They have birds. I'm not talking about Lothal cats, or
Right.
Lothal wolves, which if you've seen Rebels or Ahsoka, you know what I'm talking about. But they're just like that. Look, that was a flat out dog that you see, and a flat out bird that you see. Which in Star Wars, you don't see any real animals. The only exact species that you see from Earth are humans. But in Rebel Moon, you see a lot of real animals, which is why I am thinking that one of these planets in this whatever affiliation is Earth. This is definitely the Milky Way galaxy. In the future, I'm very sure of it. So
Well,
there
I
in
remember at the beginning, there's like a rip that kind of opens up. I was like, "Oh, what does that mean?" There's like a when you at the beginning of the movie, there's like a rip in like space that comes, and I was like, "Ooh, interesting." So no telling, Bad Dan, you might be onto something.
yep, I think it is. I think I am. I think or maybe they migrated from Earth and they brought some species with them to keep because then I mean, just need two of everything. Just call maybe it was a kind of Noah's Ark type of situation too. So who knows? So many possibilities. But the point I'm making is that this is not just Star Wars. This is really there are similarities. I see how this was a Lucasfilm pitch, but to be honest, also since I said Star Wars, justice for fives. Whenever I mention Star Wars, always got to give my boy Five some love for being wrongly killed for no one believing him, who almost stopped Order 66. Anyways, there is a lot of similarities, yes, but there are so many differences as well. I guess what do you think, Josh?
No. So I surveyed my two friends and I was like, okay, was it Star Wars? And they were like, well, kind of, but these are legitimate things that my friends said. They said, honestly, I was getting a lot of Harry Potter vibes, the good Harry Potter vibes, okay, by the fantastical, fantastical world of it all, the intrigue and the way that the world is magical, so to speak, in a sci-fi lens, though. They said that they were getting elements of Fifth Element. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie with Bruce
Oh
Willis,
no, I
but
haven't
Fifth
seen that
Element,
one.
amazing. Elements of Tron, even, they said. I personally, with the Banu, and some of the way that the creatures are designed, I got elements of Avatar and Avatar: The Way of Water. The
Oh
way that
yeah,
there's intrigue, right? Shout out to
with the
James
Banu,
Cameron,
with
who
the
was
new
talking.
though. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, no, no. Yeah, you're right. The Banu, like in particular, right? The Banu, the
'Cause you had to
way that
connect with it. Maybe not the
exact
weird hair sex thing, but
make the bond, but Tarok in a way has to kind of make the bond. So there's not just, Star Wars. There's a lot. And also I talked about this with Skywalker the Jedi yesterday, and he talked about this on his non-spoiler. In a sense, y'all, every Zack Snyder project that has come before this movie, in a way, is a part of this movie, in my opinion. Every movie was a building block and a technique and a skill that Zach, perfected in past projects and brought it into this. So there's
even
elements
300.
300. There is elements of Dawn of the Dead. There's elements of, Man of Steel, BVS. Of course, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Owls of Gahul, a little bit of Watchmen, even. Like every project can kind of be seen in a way, in the way Zach presents this movie. So it's not just Zack Snyder's Star Wars. It is so, so much more when you go deep and really study this movie. It is multi-layered and it is a lot. I don't think people are ready, Bat Dan. I don't think people are ready for what they're going to get.
Oh no, I think this is a great movie. Like they will be. This is more than what you think. I can guarantee you. I can guarantee that. The only thing that maybe I'm kind of excited for is the director's cut, because the only thing I will say is pacing. There were certain moments where I felt like they were able to kind of get the crew together pretty quickly, and I want to see some more stories fleshed out. But if that's, I'll say this: if my biggest issue with the movie is I want more, the movie's doing something right, and that's like I think there's a lot more story to tell. I'll put it like this: with BVS, I loved BVS theatrical until I saw the Ultimate Edition.
Mhm.
When I was watching the theatrical version for Skywalker's Watch Party, honest to God, it was torture. Because after seeing the Ultimate Edition, it's like, I missed this scene. Why? Wait, this scene's not in the movie? Like that, where like Martha's, after, where the priest reads the funeral. Yeah, the priest at the funeral is reciting that eulogy or that Bible verse, I guess it was, or something
Scripture.
with Clark's funeral. And then Martha's with Pete saying, I have to get a ride from the funeral directors. All right, I need to ride back to the house to pay the funeral director, and Pete's like, it's taken care of.
Yeah.
And then I realized that scene's not in the ultimate or in the theatrical version. I'm like, it just skips from walking down to Lois at her gravesite, at the gravesite. And I'm thinking, that's what I feel like this movie's going to be, is that, yes, we love this movie. We're singing this version's praises now. But once we see that director's cut, I can guarantee you we will never want to watch the short version again, because why would we? Why would I not want to just see? Why would I want to watch something with less content when I can see all the same stuff, but with more?
And shout out to James Cameron was just talking about this. You can see it blowing up on social media where James Cameron loves Zack Snyder. James Cameron, the number one biggest blockbuster director with Avatar, right? And Avatar 2, like praising Zack Snyder work and talking about how this is the future where a director gets to shoot everything that they want, right? And obviously there's a commercial, ratio and algorithm that they have to have a movie show for a certain time, right? For general audience's attention spans and abilities, right? But once you get them locked in with the theatrical cut or the original cut, this movie,
not
in my opinion,
theatrical.
yeah, I know. I keep on saying theatrical because I saw it in
Force
theatrical.
of habits,
The
and
regular
yet
cut.
we saw it in theaters.
But this is a great movie with the narrative. Like I heard people talking about part one syndrome, and at the halfway point, I was kind of like, okay, I can maybe see what they're saying because you like you said, you get the crew together kind of quick, and you kind of were like, oh, I want to know more because I like this character. There's an aspect of this character you're introduced to, that's exciting, and I'm like, oh, I want to go deep. Well, it's perfect because James Cameron was just talking about how you can have a streamer have the director's cut for fans that really want to go deep and live in this world and be immersed more. So we're going to get more of that Junkie XL music. We're going to get more of those amazing Zack Snyder visuals. We're going to get more of these dynamic characters in the ensemble cast and learn much more about their lives in this provocative world. And the provocative cut, trust me, y'all, if the regular version is provocative, the director's cut, the Snyder cut is gonna be 100 times more provocative, in my opinion. So I can't wait to see people reaction to what's coming because they're not even in store for the levels that we're gonna get when we get that director's cut before part 2 next year.
I absolutely. Well said. And I think, look, I like the movie you got, but I think there's more that's needed. And plus, when we see the R-rated cut, the more violent cut, you'll see Zack Snyder a lot more unleashed in the director's cut. So while I think the movie we got was amazing, I still think we definitely need that director's cut. And the fact that Netflix is embracing Zack Snyder, and like what I like about this is that they told Zack Snyder ahead of time that about this director's cut, so Zack Snyder could, I feel like, make a lot more decisions. Because I feel like with BVS, there are certain points where I don't necessarily think Zack Snyder decided that certain things were getting cut. I think a lot of that was kind of on the studio, but this one I feel like Zack had more control to decide, okay, to at least make it accessible. Because with BVS, there are some things that get confusing about, like, why did they blame Superman for bullets? Whereas the Ultimate Edition shows that they're getting torched to symbolize heat vision, to make it look like heat vision. And I feel like I feel like Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder had more control to prevent a plot hole like that being created. So I
Very
think
true.
it'll be good when we get the director's cut, but I think once we get that director's cut, I don't think we'll ever want to see the regular version again because again, why would we when we can have more? So I'm excited for that. And now this movie is getting slammed on social media by critics, and
Not surprised. Not surprised.
I think it was Austin. I think I caught clips of this on your Black Adam watch party. Is that Austin made a point saying if they changed the director's name to like Dak, I don't know what exact
Dak,
name he used. But it was like
Dak Snyder, or something like that.
if Zack Snyder's name was not on that, this film would be getting a lot more praise. I can guarantee you that right now. Is that this
Okay.
this was a great movie, and this is what I would say to people: critics hate Zack Snyder for some reason. There's some weird, he's not in their Hollywood agenda or their Hollywood weird agenda, I should say. So critics are going to hate on it more. That's just kind of how it is. But look, DC and Warner Brothers tried caving into critics by not by listening, or they tried caving into critics by getting rid of Zack Snyder, and look what happened to them. They had flop after flop after flop, to quote the great late Christopher Lee. So critics, people, critics are paid. Critics have agendas. These professional critics have agendas. If there's a movie you want to see, watch it yourself. And I'm going to tell you this right now, Josh. I didn't watch any other reviews before we did this recording because I don't like watching other reviews, honestly, before I do my own. Because what happens is I'm going to get another opinion in my head.
Mhm. I
And I
appreciate
don't
that.
want that.
You're giving your honest, raw thoughts for that reason.
Yeah,
One reason why I love
exactly.
it. And that's why I've been loving your reviews is that, you know, you Bat Dan, shout out to you as somebody who's really been inspired by, Mikey Verse, Soul Nation, the Cool Table and the Syndicate Network for being a fan first and foremost but adding to the conversation. That's something that Skywalker the Jedi talked about. We have been battling these Hollywood narratives and these review bombs for years, right? With Zack Snyder. And this is no different. It's obvious to me. Of course, in the back of my mind, I was like, knew about the Rotten Tomatoes score. So last night I was like, okay, let's see. Even though I knew we don't care about Rotten Tomatoes, we know how it works. They are threatened right now. We talked about on the Space-Tastic discussions, episode 1. Lucasfilm and Disney and Star Wars are vulnerable right now. They are so vulnerable. And watching this movie, there is no way that apparently Sky told me this debuted with 9%. A Rotten Tomato score of 9% when it first debuted. It's gone up to like 20, I think. But when you see a score that low, and then you see the audience score and the dichotomous nature of it with every Zack Snyder project, it's just like, come on, y'all. Try something different. This is the same old song and dance. You're threatened. Hollyweird is scared of Zack Snyder hype train coming in and stealing all the fans away from a IP that has been beloved for decades and generations. But, when you give them something a little bit more provocative, outside the box, and something that's breaking the wheel, you ruffle some feathers in Hollywood. And now they're trying to prevent Zack Snyder from winning. But we will not let them win, baby, because all we got to do is show up to Netflix and press play. This is not the same kind of deal with theatrical box office, right? All we got to do is engage with Netflix, and we're winning. We're already getting part 2. It's in the can, baby. Zack Snyder's working on it right now. So your little review bombing, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work. You ain't going to fool a fly or me.
Well said, Josh. And that's what I'm telling people right now. Stop listening to critics. Form your own opinion. Critics do not know more than you do. Like, I had someone I talked to once, and she was like, critics know more what makes a good movie because they go to film school. Absolute bullshit. And I mean, put it like this. They gave She-Hulk an 8 out of 10. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you love She-Hulk, Josh, but I hated She-Hulk, and that's...
I did. But yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I shared that with Mikey Sutton, so I wear that badge proudly on. That's something that me and him liked. But yeah, you're right. Like, you see certain you're in the majority of people who didn't like that show. I'm in the minority, and I think Mikey recognized that too. So, you just got it. You can never judge stuff because there's always narratives attached to these reviews, y'all. Always narratives and agendas. So we know the game, right, Dan?
Exactly. And we have to not fall for it. So now, actually, we're going to do something a little different with this. So since we're going to do a part 2, what I want you to do, when you give this a rating, I want you to give a range. Like, give something like, let's say, a 9.2 to 9.7. And this isn't my score. This is just an example. Give something like that. And then when we do our spoiler review, after seeing it again, have a more solidified score for that. So what would you rate? How would you rate this for right now?
Okay. Well, just from being on a high of being Zactivated, seeing it theatrical with amazing surround sound, gorgeous, crisp imagery, like I did, me and you were both lucky enough to see it as I think it was meant to be seen theatrically. If I had some criticisms, I will say there's a few minor exposition scenes where characters are like around a fire and there's like a sweeping landscape, and I'll be honest, I was like, oh, okay, because Disney has relied on the volume so much, and all the Disney plus Star Wars content have been using those type of landscape shots with the Mandalorian or Andor or Ahsoka. You're starting to kind of see where the volume starts and the practical set ends. And so there were a few scenes where I was like, okay, I can see that that's just like the volume. So I noticed that, right? But then it's really quick. It's just for like a small exposition scene where they're talking about a character's past or character's motivations or something like that. So that's, being honest, just a little bit of criticism that kind of took me out for a second. but I was thrown back in by the next scene because Zach didn't overly rely on the volume, in my opinion, in this. I don't know if you felt that way, but
Oh no, not at all.
not at all,
It
in
felt
my
great.
opinion, right? But the few scenes that there were, I did kind of like see that. So keep that in mind. Also, I'm leaving a little bit of wiggle room for the potential director's cut. Okay, so keep that in mind. So, to be fair, I'll give a range right now. I love this movie. I love this movie. I was giddy back then. Like I said, by the halfway point, I had like 7 or 8 moments where I had goosebumps. By the end, it probably was like, I'd say about 10 different moments in total, I'd say. Because the final act was one big goosebump movie. Like it just kept on going and going and going and going with the music and the soundtrack and the climax. This is 100% a film. Okay. When people are saying it's, part one syndrome, that's their opinion. I do not agree at all. There is beginning evolution with the characters. Something happens in the end. There's a battle, a very satisfying battle, in my opinion. But it's a battle, right? It's not the war. And so we know there's more to come because when the end credit scene says end part one, that's telling you this is not over. And then we see a few credits and then we see Rebel Moon because it's the Child of Fire part one end, but there's more Rebel Moon to come. So my score range as of right now, first watch, I'll give it. It might seem a little low, but keep in mind, I'm giving wiggle room for spoiler and then rewatch and then theatrical. So I'll say 7.5 to 9.0. That's my range.
Oh wow. Great score. Great score, and we'll get that more solidified in the spoiler review. And for me, I'd say again, my biggest criticism was some of the pacing. Some stuff moved a little too fast for me. So what I'm gonna give it right now is I'll give it an 8.9 to 9.59999999. We'll give it
Right.
somewhere in that range right now, and I think once the spoiler or when the spoiler review comes out, it'll be somewhere between there. And then I have a feeling that when the director's cut comes out, that will be above a 9.5 easily. Because this was just a really great movie. There's so much great stuff coming up. And I just want to remind everyone, 2 reminders. If you're watching this on the premiere, so I'll say the dates too. Tomorrow, December 21st, is a trending day for hashtag sells DSJL to Netflix, hashtag sells Snyderverse to Netflix. Use those hashtags, tweet those 2 hashtags, and Rebel Moon, watch party on Skywalker's channel if you can make it at, I think it starts right when the movie premieres at, that's why I hate
7,
time zones.
7
10
Pacific.
p.m. 7 p.m. Pacific. So that's 10 p.m. Eastern Standard
Eastern.
Time to 9 p.m.
Central.
East Central Time, which is Josh and my time.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that. And then Josh, I'll let you say it. For on December 22nd, what hashtags are we supposed to use and what hashtags are we not supposed to use?
So, as you stated, just to reiterate, tomorrow, Thursday, December 21st, we are hashtagging hashtag sells ESGL to Netflix, hashtag sells Snyderverse to Netflix. And if you want to also put Rebel Moon in the text, that counts towards trending. Just throwing it out there. Okay, so we're really going to push the big picture, which is going to get more eyes on Zack Snyder and his project Rebel Moon by hashtags sell ZSJL Netflix, hashtag sell Snyderverse Netflix, and culminating in the watch party with Skywalker the Jedi at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Now, on the 22nd, like you're talking about back then, on Friday, no hashtag sell ZSJL to Netflix, hashtag sell Snyderverse Netflix. Only hashtag Rebel Moon that day. And if you want, there's other hashtags you can use. You can use hashtag Rebel Moon Premiere, You can hashtag Zack Snyder. You can hashtag Rebel Moon Part 1. You can hashtag Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. I don't know if that will fit, but go crazy on the 22nd for Rebel Moon, because that's the official, release date. We're getting it early because Netflix is moving up and doing a big premiere just for Netflix, right? And I have a feeling the servers might crash and we might have to delay, a little bit on the watch parties, but hey, we do stuff. We show up when Zack Snyder is involved, right? Right, Bat Dan? So I can't wait to party tomorrow for hashtag sell ZSJ on Netflix, hashtag sell Snyder versus Netflix on Thursday, the 21st of December. But the 22nd, it's all Rebel Moon, baby. So let's go.
And okay, so I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you, like I don't know, just in case someone else doesn't. Why can't we use the sell hashtags on Friday, December 22nd? Why can't we just trend that with Rebel Moon?
Well, we have ROEs, which are rules of engagement. So number one, we're not mixing the hashtags. Okay, that's the way to be the most effective, and the way that X Twitter works, the algorithm, having 2 hashtags is the maximum for detection for trending. Okay, so why aren't we going to do it on the 22nd? Well, because we are hyping Rebel Moon up. We are making our push for sell on the 21st, and then once Rebel Moon is out, we're going to engage with that over and over and over again and put that on our replay loop to get the hours watched become one of the top projects on Netflix for Zack Snyder. That's what we need to do. We need to engage with Netflix and Rebel Moon specifically on the 22nd on. So that's why we will not be doing the hashtag sells ZSJ on Netflix. It's all Rebel Moon because Skywalker the Jedi, our captain, has requested that. And he's got us this far in under a year, right? Right, Bat Dan? He created those hashtags on January 3rd, 2023. And look, we already got DCEU on Netflix and Rebel Moon in less than a year from that hashtag movement. So shout out to Skywalker the Jedi, Leon of the New Geeks, and everyone at the Cool Table, and everyone who rocks out and follows the ROEs, because you are part of the rebellion.
We are the children of the revolution.
Yeah, we are, Bat Dan. Children of the revolution. I'm even going to listen to that.
So, guys, follow these hashtags, and honestly, too, we also just want a day for Rebel Moon to just be able to trend, too. We want a day for Rebel Moon to just be able to trend without necessarily having to rely on Zack's DCs. That we still want to embrace Zack's other projects, too. So that's why this is so important to give Rebel Moon its day, too. So, the 21st, all ZSJL hashtags. The 22nd, all Rebel Moon hashtags. We can do it. And be on the lookout, because we are going to try to get we are going to find a way to get a spoiler review for this movie out there too, because there's so much stuff that Josh and I want to say that we couldn't say on this one, but we will say on the spoiler review. So when this is going to be, we don't know, because it's also Christmas weekend and we have to navigate through the holidays. So we'll figure it out. We'll try to make this one live, but this one may also end up being like this, a live premiere, just due to scheduling, because it's just that time of year.
Yep.
And so be on the lookout for that, for episode 3 of Space-Tastic Discussions. And Josh, anything coming up with you on your end?
No, I'm like I said, I will probably, when this premieres, I will be in line waiting for Aquaman 2. So I have a feeling I'm going to need a palate cleanser. So I'm excited for the trending day on Thursday, December 21st, to rock out with hashtag sell movement and culminate with a Netflix Rebel Moon watch party on Skywalker the Jedi's channel. I know you'll be there, Bet Dan, and I know I'll be there, and I can't wait to rock out with this community and get Zack hashtag sell and Rebel Moon trending, all throughout tomorrow and the weekend. So, hashtag sell 21st, hashtag Rebel Moon 22nd on. Let's go.
Well said. Well said. And for me, coming up on my channel, we'll do more crime at Christmas time, more Christmas related videos. So there'll be more remastered videos from last year where I have the videos in with the actual effects, pictures, edits the stutters. I just said that again because I saw my screen went black, so I repeated myself there. And basically tomorrow, now this is not guaranteed, mind you, this is not guaranteed. I may actually have more of an idea when this is premiering to you, but at the time of this recording, I have a special video planned tomorrow that will tie into Crime at Christmas Time and the Cell hashtag. So let's just say be on the lookout for that. Hopefully I have time to get that recorded and edited. We'll see. But guys, if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more unique takes, interesting thoughts, and to see an expansion of this review. And lastly, have a space-tastic day.
Rebel Moon, baby! Let's go!
Children.